Cut off a salamander's leg, not damaged, gone. Within hours, the wound seals without a scar. Within days, a strange pale bud appears. Within weeks, there's a new leg. Correct bones, correct joints, correct number of toes, wired into the nervous system, and working perfectly. It has done this 5 times before. It could do it 50 more. Your body, meanwhile, contains the exact same genetic instructions, and will spend 2 weeks growing a scar instead. The blueprint is in there. Something is choosing not to open it. Let's start with something people find hard to believe. You already regenerate. Your skin replaces itself constantly. Your gut lining renews every few days. Your liver is genuinely remarkable. Remove a substantial portion of it, and it will regrow to functional size within months. Children under about 2 who lose a fingertip above the last joint can regrow it, complete with the nail and the fingerprint, provided the wound is left uncovered. So regeneration isn't foreign to human biology. We do it every day. The question isn't whether we can regenerate. It's why we stopped where we did. Because look at what else is possible in the animal kingdom. Axolotls, those permanently juvenile salamanders, regrow limbs, tails, jaws, portions of heart tissue, and parts of the brain and spinal cord, repeatedly, without scarring. Zebrafish regenerate heart muscle after significant damage. Starfish regrow arms, and in some species, a fragment can rebuild an entire animal. Deer regrow antlers annually. Bone, blood supply, and skin, at a speed that's among the fastest tissue growth in any mammal. These aren't distant relatives. Axolotls are vertebrates with 4 limbs, a spine, a heart, and lungs. Their genome contains roughly the same toolkit yours does. So what are they doing differently? Here's where it gets fascinating. When a salamander loses a limb, cells at the wound site do something almost unbelievable. They reverse. Specialized cells, muscle, bone, cartilage, partially de-differentiate, stepping backward toward a more flexible, embryonic-like state. They pile up into a structure called a blastema, a mass of cells that behaves like a tiny limb bud in an embryo. And that blastema knows where it is. Cut at the wrist, it grows a hand. Cut at the shoulder, it grows the entire arm. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, hand, in the correct order. The cells carry positional information, a kind of internal map telling them which part of the body they belong to and what still needs building. Your cells have positional information too. They used it to build you in the first place. You had limb buds once, and they knew exactly what to make. Then, somewhere in development, that program was closed. So why would evolution throw away something this useful? The leading explanation is a trade-off, and it's an uncomfortable one. Regeneration requires cells to become flexible again, to divide rapidly, migrate, and change identity. That is very close to describing what cancer does. A body that keeps cells poised for rapid growth and identity change is a body that has to police that capacity constantly. Mammals appear to have taken a different bargain. We favor speed and safety over restoration. Our wound response is optimized to close the gap fast, seal it, stop the bleeding, block infection, and scar tissue does that brilliantly. It's collagen, laid down quickly, structurally adequate, functionally inferior. It'll never be skin again, but it'll stop you dying this week. For a warm-blooded animal with a long life, high metabolism, and a lot of cells, the calculation seems to have favored the scar. There may be a second reason, and it's about heat. Warm bodies with fast metabolisms are hospitable to infection. Sealing a wound in hours rather than leaving it open for weeks is a serious advantage. And regeneration needs that wound to stay open, uncovered, and biologically active. The salamander can afford patience. We couldn't. Now let's grant the hypothetical. Suppose we unlock it. The first thing to understand is that regeneration is slow. An axolotl regrows a limb in weeks, but it's small and it's cold-blooded. Scale that to a human arm with its bone length, muscle mass, and nerve distances, and you're not looking at weeks. You're looking at months, possibly years, with the metabolic cost of building an entire limb from scratch. You wouldn't walk out of hospital with a new arm. You'd spend a long time growing one, constantly hungry, while it slowly became yours. The second thing is that it would transform medicine in ways that go far beyond limbs. Most of what disables and kills people isn't missing parts, it's damaged ones. Heart attacks kill heart muscle, and human heart muscle doesn't meaningfully regenerate. It scars, and the scar doesn't beat. Spinal cord injuries sever connections that don't reconnect. Kidney disease, liver cirrhosis, corneal damage, hearing loss from destroyed hair cells in the inner ear. All are failures of replacement. A regenerating human wouldn't primarily be a person with a spare arm. It would be a person whose heart repairs itself after a heart attack, whose spinal cord reconnects, whose retina rebuilds. That's not a superpower. That's most of modern medicine becoming unnecessary. And then we arrive at the part that changes the whole question. Because there's one thing regeneration cannot give back. Suppose you regrew a section of brain. The tissue could be structurally perfect. Correct cells, correct architecture, fully wired and functioning. It would still be blank. Your memories, your habits, your skills, the specific way you think, none of that is stored in the type of tissue. It's stored in the pattern, which neurons connect to which and how strongly, built up over a lifetime of experience. Regeneration rebuilds the hardware. It has no way to restore what was written on it. You'd regrow the tissue and lose the person. That's the strange boundary hidden inside this fantasy. Every other organ is defined by what it does. A liver filters, a heart pumps, and a new one that works is genuinely a replacement. The brain is the only organ where the specific arrangement is the thing. Rebuild it perfectly, and you haven't restored anything. You've made a new one. Which raises a question worth sitting with. If you could regrow anything, would you actually want a body that could rebuild every part of you, except the part that makes you you? And here's what makes all of this more than a thought experiment. Researchers genuinely are working on this. Not on growing arms, that remains far off, but on the mechanisms underneath. Understanding how blastemas form, why some species scar and others don't, how zebrafish repair heart muscle when we can't, why young mammals regenerate fingertips and older ones don't. Work on limiting scar formation, on regenerating cartilage, on coaxing damaged tissue toward repair rather than replacement. None of it is close to regrowing a limb, and anyone promising otherwise is overselling. But the direction is real, and the reason it's plausible at all is the thing we started with. This isn't a capability we lack. It's one we have, switched off. Somewhere in your cells is the instruction set that built your arms the first time. It worked once. It's still there. We're just not sure what it would cost to open it again. So here's tonight's question. If you could regrow anything except your memories, what would you want back most? And what would you be most afraid to lose in a way nothing could rebuild? Every question creates a new reality, and reality is just one version of the truth. Every possibility deserves exploration. The next one begins with a single question. What if? Subscribe and explore what comes next.